This is 12:33 ABC Newcastle.
Now, as I mentioned, we wanted to talk about waste to energy, and my apologies and thanks for Nicole Overall for hanging on the line as we had that breaking news. But Nicole Overall is a member of the National Party. She's a member of the Legislative Council of New South Wales and also the chair of the Select Committee on Proposed Energy from Waste Facilities, and joins us on the line. Nicole Overall, good morning to you.
Good morning, Paul, and I'm sorry that I sound a little bit croaky. I've had laryngitis, a politician who can't talk. I'm sure everyone will be delighted. But it was really interesting to hear that news that you've just mentioned about Tomago aluminium. So very pleased to wait on and get that news firsthand.
Yeah, certainly something that's going to have a huge impact on the Hunter. So we'll be following that throughout the morning. So I appreciate your patience. But we did want to still talk to you about what you're working through at the moment. So what is the Parliament's work when it comes to the idea of burning waste to create energy and what that could look like in New South Wales?
Yes, well, energy from waste is an initiative that has been looked at and put forward over the past few years now, but increasingly there have been concerns, questions, queries that are being raised by residents in the areas that it's proposed, particularly Parks and Tarago, just outside Goulburn, what it means for those regional communities. And they feel that they just haven't had full information to hand. They don't believe that they're being fully informed about what's going on. This has created uncertainty and anxiety. So we have proposed this inquiry to ensure that we fully explore the issues and also look at options and potential alternatives to what we know is an ever-growing waste problem. So that's the object of the inquiry.
I know that in the terms of reference, it does pay mention to landfill in Greater Sydney. Could it have ramifications for what happens outside of Sydney?
Well, yes, that's the concern really, and one of the primary movers of this inquiry. How the locations have been decided, why it is that it's regional areas specifically that are being looked at in this, and dealing with Sydney's waste. At this point in time, those two facilities alone are suggested to deal with almost 1 million tonnes of waste per year coming from Sydney. So, of course, the questions inevitably arise that if it's safe, if it's all in order, then why aren't other areas being looked at, such as areas in Sydney as well? And the Labor Party have specifically dismissed and put aside the idea that Sydney would host such facilities. So we've got to break all of that down and look at the reasons why these decisions are being made. When you reference Tomago, yes, that has just been put back on the list. So the list was originally of four areas that were to host the energy from waste, potentially: Parks, Activation Precinct, the Southern Goulburn Mulwaree Precinct, West Lithgow Precinct, which had been on the list and removed and has now been added back in. Then there was also the Richmond Valley, which apparently is not progressing, but instead the Tomago Precinct has now been listed on the EPA's website. So we need to look at how these decisions are being made, why they're being made, and are they in the best interests of our communities.
One of the immediate reactions, and we've already had a text from Ian on the Hill saying, I understand that burning waste for energy isn't a clean process as it produces CO2, which worsens climate change. So how much of that is a feature of your work?
Very much a feature. So toxic emissions is one of the things that has been raised by concerned residents and community members. Things like fly ash. We've just had an inquiry, an upper house inquiry into PFAS, of course, which is microplastics. These are all of the things that we will be addressing and questioning more closely. Now, the government says that New South Wales has some of the most stringent emission limits in the world, but how those limits are measured, any proposed changes to that, the EPA is talking about adding greater flexibility to the way that they're measured. These are all the things that need to be looked at very closely, and answers reached that either give satisfaction to the communities, that they know these things are going to be safe and in order, or we can look at ways in which they can be fully addressed.
Yeah. Because obviously, yeah, if we talk about Tomago, it's an industrial area, but still, obviously, we have communities around there that would be concerned about what could blow on to their communities, as well as the the global impacts of climate change there. So it's an interesting one when we talk about emissions that lead to climate change, because is it possible that we might have waste to energy facilities being a non-starter? Like, as you talk about, if there are stringent controls, and not making a judgment on whether those are good or not, but if those controls exist, then you won't even get a facility up and running because it just won't be allowable.
Yeah, look, there are such facilities around the world, obviously, and they're suggesting that the current technologies have improved to such a degree that there's not even a comparison to those that exist now. Again, these are the things that we need to look at and ensure that we do have the most up-to-date information to hand. And I can tell you that even the proponents have suggested that the level of information that has been out there in the community is either not correct or not as fulsome as it needs to be. They acknowledge that themselves. So that's what we want to achieve with this inquiry. In the end, we know that our ever-growing levels of landfill need to be addressed. We have to be able to do something with our waste. We can't just keep filling up landfill and to the point that it's going to be at capacity anyway. The questions are, is it the best way to deal with it, and why is it that the regional areas are going to be dealing with Sydney's waste in this? We've got to share the waste love, but also the waste burden.
And is there an interesting economics to this? Because I imagine that if you're a waste-to-energy facility, you could be charging to take the waste off the hands of councils and then also making money from the energy you sell into the grid.
Well, yes, let's be, very blunt about this. No one is going to be looking at it for love. They are looking at it for an investment, for a business proposition, which of course also does things like create jobs, etc., and investment in our communities. That's really important as well. But economic viability is absolutely something that I will be pressing forward through this inquiry, and also cost-benefit ratios. As you say, if there are fees being charged, we're already having a review into waste levies, etc. How does that stack up? How much money needs to be spent in order to generate energy from waste and do the sums, work out in the most cost-effective way possible?
All right. If people want to have a say on this inquiry, how can they do that?
Yes, they still have the opportunity to make submissions until the end of this week, October 31st. They can just go to the New South Wales Parliamentary website. There's a tab there. They can find committees. It'll be listed very clearly, the inquiry link, and then how to make a submission, very easily spelt out. You can find me on social media. I also have the links on my pages there as well. Whether you're for or against, I believe we're already at approximately 150-odd submissions, but there still is that chance to have your voice heard one way or another.
All right. Nicole, overall, appreciate your time today.
Thanks so much, Paul.
Nicole Overall is member of the Legislative Council with the National Party, chair of the Select Committee on Proposed Energy from Waste Facilities. As you're hearing, you can get those submissions in until Friday. And I want to be